Hey everybody, sit back, relax, grab a cold one. We're doing a Q&A day. So first off, thank you to everybody who submitted questions to the Engine Gremlin channel, whether that was through YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Most of these come from Instagram. So again, thank you very much. I'm not going to be saying folks' real names today just because being new to this whole social media thing, I don't know how that goes down with liability and all that kind of stuff. In the future though, what I will probably do is reach out to those who submitted questions and see if they're fine with us saying the real name and throwing out like their handles so that people can check out the folks that have helping us out. So yeah. Also, today's questions are a little more generic in nature. In the future, we're going to start getting into more technical, specific questions. But today, we're keeping it, pretty light, pretty easy. So, without further ado, our first question comes from Steve. Steve says, "I've seen your channel and your post, but who the heck are you?" Fair question. I suppose I haven't really introduced myself up to date. My name is Jonathan Sanders. I am the founder of the Engine Gremlin channel. By day, I am a rocket scientist. I actually hold 2 degrees in aerospace engineering. As part of my job, I help design, manufacture, and launch rockets. And this is something that I decided to do and get my feet wet on. And I really, really like it. So, next question. Okay, so this next question comes from Brian. How long you've been into working on cars and what got you started? So I'm actually a little bit of a late bloomer in terms of working on cars. But being an engineer, I do have that background in, mechanical design and analysis and fluid flow and things like that. None of which are required to work on a car whatsoever. So if you're thinking you need an advanced degree or something like that, or a degree in engineering or some STEM field, no, you don't. You could be Joe Blow in the middle of nowhere with a GED, and you don't need it to work on a classic car. Now, like I said, I'm a bit of a late bloomer when it comes to working on cars. Now, granted, growing up, I have always had a passing fancy for classic muscle cars and some of the older cars. Something about them, they just look so good, and their sound, and they're iconic in every way. And as I got older, around the time I, was in college, I started learning more and more about cars. And I started getting a better understanding mechanically of what's going on. Because I never really learned a whole lot growing up about what was going on with cars. It's not like I spent weekends in the garage with my dad. Love my dad, by the way, but that's just not something we did. So I started out by working on my daily driver. It was a 1994 Dodge Ram 1500. I love that car. I had it for 10 years. And then, when it was time to get rid of it, I got a Subaru Legacy and I spent time working on that. And now I'm onto the Mustang. But even in between, I would try and help out with other folks' cars, learn what I could, really doing my homework. So that's kind of how I got started into working on cars. So, like I said, bit of a late bloomer, but here I am. All right, so this next question comes from Cody. What is a gremlin and are they real? So for those of you who don't know, gremlin in its long history of etymology is typically refers to like a fairy, pixie, fae type kind of creature, but in more modern recent histories, particularly in the aircraft industries, in the early, mid, and even late 1900s, if there was a problem with the mechanical systems or the electrical systems, particularly electrical systems of the aircraft, they would refer it to as a gremlin. We've got a gremlin in the system, something that was going wrong and screwing up. And are gremlins real? You bet your ass they're real. We have gremlins here in this very garage. They cause all kinds of crazy carnage, damage, annoyances. So, let's take a look at the list here. Are you burning oil? You got gremlins. You got squeaky brakes? You got gremlins. You get honked at a lot? You don't got gremlins, you're a bad driver. Bad gas mileage? Yeah, you probably got gremlins. You bought a convertible and you hate it? No, convertibles just suck, but we'll go more on that later. You can't get a specific radio station? Yeah, you probably got gremlins. The AC doesn't work. Yeah, you definitely got gremlins. Your Chevy Malibu breaks down. It's a Chevy Malibu. You don't have gremlins. It's just a piece of crap. Your engine's overheating. Probably got gremlins. Scratches on your paint, you definitely got Gremlins. Your headlights are burning out, yeah, chance you got Gremlins. And then lastly, your wife hates your classic car. You just need to get a new wife. I'm just kidding, don't do that. No, if your wife hates your classic car, you probably should have either A, talked to her about it before you bought it, or B, convinced her of how awesome it is in the first place, or C, maybe spent a whole lot less money on it. So anyway, are Gremlins real? Absolutely, they're real. And yeah, you probably got them. All right, so this next question comes from Laura. What are your plans for the motor of the car? You said we were keeping the straight 6, but why not go with a bigger motor? So first of all, I want to say thanks to Bevan Hearn in Australia, just outside of Sydney. Thank you very much for the hat. Love it. So thank you for sending that my way. If you've got a hat and you want to send it to me, I will wear it. I promise, unless it's something exorbitantly offensive. So, like I said, I love hats. And so again, Bevan, thank you. Laura, to answer your question about the motor of the car, we are keeping the straight 6 to be specific on what we're doing for the motor. So the entire motor is getting an entire top to bottom rebuild. And at the time of shooting this, we're actually in the process of disassembling it and getting it machined at the shop. I go to the shop tomorrow to document the entire disassembly process, as well as looking for any flaws or problems in the block and the motor and everything else. But specifically, what we're going to do is we're going to be putting a new head on it. First things first. That is the single best thing that you can do for these 4200 motors. Just put a new cylinder head on it, because the old cast design for the intake and the outtake are just garbage. They're terrible. They're undersized. They have very bad flow geometry. They're stacked, so you get some really bad heating that radiates up into the intake manifold that can cause vapor lock or poor combustion. Not poor combustion, but your air becomes less dense and you get less power. So terrible. So we're going to be getting a new cylinder head from Vintage Inlines, and it's actually going to be machined to have a fuel rail on it for sequential port fuel injection, which are going to be running off of a Holley HP ECU. It's also going to have a new intake manifold, also from Vintage Inlines. It's cast aluminum. It's going to be sitting a 4-barrel 1000 CFM throttle body on top. So that's fantastic. We're going to be running a new grind camshaft from Claysmith Cams. We're going to be running a 274 grind cam. I think it's 224 at 50 thousandths lift. I gotta go back and check, but I've worked over with Nick Woods at Claysmith Cams to help figure out what's going to be the ideal cam for this guy. We're going to be putting a modern driveline adapter on the back end of the engine so that we can hook up a Tremec T5 transmission on it. So we get rid of the old 3-speed Power Glide and put in the Tremec T5 transmission. We're going to be going with a set of Yellow Terra roller rockers, a 1.65 ratio roller rocker. So that's going to help. That's going to increase our valve lift, which is going to give us better airflow and better exhaust. And it's also roller rockers. So that's going to be reducing friction and reducing the kind of the parasitic losses throughout the engine. Let's see, new bearings, of course. I would really like to see if I could fit some oil squirters in there, just in case we turbo it in the future. I'd love to have that help the longevity of the engine. Going stock water pump, stock oil pump. We're going with an electric fan instead of the water pump mounted fan, because they're terribly inefficient and they don't work at the right times. Water pump applied fans are really slow at low RPMs, which is when you need that airflow the most, and they're excessive at higher speeds because you already have airflow going over the radiator from just moving along. So we're going with an electric fan from Mishimoto and aluminum radiator. We're going with a Ford big block meant for 67 to 70 Mustang. So that actually shows up tomorrow. So I'm very excited. It'll be one of the first parts that I've ordered for this car to show up. So that's going to be very exciting. I'll probably do a minor unboxing kind of thing. So keep an eye out for that. Let's see, what else are we doing on the motor? We're going to be redoing the AC. So this car came with AC, but the compressor is just so big and so massive. We're going to be going with an aftermarket compressor, probably from somebody like Classic Air, Vintage Air. And we're going to be swapping locations of the alternator and the compressor. So originally the compressor was up high on the engine. We want to put it down below, out of sight, because it's a little unsightly, but we also want that nice, shiny, new alternator up there. It's just going to look better. It's going to help with packaging of the engine too. So I think that covers the bulk of the upgrades that we're going to be doing for the engine. We're not going to be doing positive crankcase expulsion into the air intake. We're just going to have, because ultimately what that's going to do is it put more contaminants into your air. You're not going to get as good as performance. And because this is a 68 Mustang, we don't have to apply or to abide by the modern emissions standards of modern cars. Because it's a classic car, we're capable of doing that. So I think that covers it. So to answer the other half of your question of why not go with something bigger, like throw in a 289 or a 5-liter Coyote or something like that, the fact is these engines don't get the respect that they deserve. Most people take these straight sixes and they throw them in the dumpster and they put in a 289 or a 5-liter Coyote, and it has been done to death. So what do we want? We want something a little more unique. That's why we're sticking with the straight six. We're turning this straight six into a modern motor. It should be damn near bulletproof. It's going to have great torque and it'll have plenty of power by the time we're done with it. It should be putting out 220 to 250 horsepower and probably around 2 to 210 to the wheels directly, but gobs and gobs of torque because it's a straight six. And with a T5 transmission, it's going to be so much fun to drive. And if we put a turbo into it, we'll probably be looking at like 350 horsepower, which is for a daily driver in a track car, especially since it's a Mustang and it's super duper light. That's all you really need. You don't need more. This isn't going to be a straight line speed car. So we want something different. We want that cool factor. We want people to open that hood and go, oh, that's different. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a straight six done like that. So we want a talking point. We want something new. And, to go back to the sequential port fuel injection, as far as we know, this will be the very first Ford 200 that is sequential port fuel injected in the world that we're aware of. There might be one hiding in Australia. The Australian market for Fords, particularly those straight sixes, is a lot better than ours because they took what we had and they made it even better. They've got cross flow heads, things like that. So we'll see, but that's why we're sticking with the straight six. So we hope you approve, and I think you guys are really going to like it when we're done. So this next question actually comes from friend of the show, Mac. Mac asks, when I live in Colorado, can I come help work on the car for an episode? Mac, you are more than welcome anytime. It doesn't just have to be an episode. You can come help us build this thing from stem to stern. So we are always eager to have help. Like I said, friend of the show and personal friend of mine. So come on over, Mac. We'll open a cold one and we'll start cranking away on it. So, all right. So this next question comes from John, spelled wrong with an H in it. What color scheme do you have planned for the car, and what are some of the things you have planned to make this car unique? So originally the color scheme was actually going to be like a timeout. I'll be right back. Stupid lights. So originally the car was going to be a charcoal gray color with burnt orange detailing, and it was kind of playing into the name of the car, Cinder. That being said, we are definitely open to other color schemes, but all we know is that we want it to be original. We don't want to see another blue Mustang with white racing stripes or red Mustang with white racing stripes, things like that. Not that those don't look good. They're a very classic look. They always look sharp on a Mustang. It's just that we want to do something different. We want something unique, because this is a car that we're planning to also take to shows apart from being a daily driver. Again, the whole purpose behind this car is to be unique. So if you have an idea for a color scheme, especially if you have rendering, send them to us. We'll definitely consider it. If we get enough submissions on colors, what we'll probably do is put it up to a community vote and quite possibly go with the highest voted option from the community. So some of the things that are going to make this car unique. We're going to be putting coilovers and hydraulic disc brakes in all four corners. We're not keeping the OEM hardware. We're not going with drums, things like that. A lot of folks have done that too, but it's going to up the performance. It's going to upgrade the stance. Planning to put a set of Mare Racing 3 1/4 inch flares on the front and rear fenders. So that'll look real good, give it a nice wide body look. Put on some like 275s, maybe 305s, maybe 315s if they fit and the clearance with the suspension is enough, but I think that's really pushing it. So give it those nice wide tires. you know, drop the stance like an inch with some like 1-inch drop spindles. So really lower it, give it that wide, low, mean kind of look. Let's see, what else? So we've already talked about the modifications for the straight six. Those are going to be a big talking point. We're going to be redoing the interior. We don't know what color yet because we don't know what color the outside's going to be. And we want it to complement, you know, that kind of color. We're going to be getting rid of the antenna, giving a nice smooth thing. We're going to be getting rid of the graded cowl up by the front windshield. That's going to be a solid piece because those just suck in water and rust over time. And the way we're going to, you know, duct this thing for the ventilation system is, you know, we won't need it. So let's see what else. In the rear, we are going to put a spoiler. Now, we haven't decided exactly what. I personally really like the 1969 Mach 1 spoilers. But we've also heard people asking us to do a ducktail, but those have been done a lot, but they still look really good. We've also heard some people talk about or suggesting that we throw on a bigger, more modern spoiler on there, which is something we're definitely open to looking at. I haven't done a whole lot of look into that. But so that's something else we're going to do. Chrome is probably not going to stay chrome colored. It's probably going to be complementary to the paint. So it's either going to be like that charcoal gray or something else like that. It's ultimately going to depend on the color of the car. Let's see what else we got here. Dakota Digital gauge cluster, that stuff's fantastic. And then retro manufacturing, radio and Bluetooth MP3 player assembly. So we're going to be doing something like that. So I think that covers a bulk of the things that are going to make this car unique. HID projector headlights, they're LED headlights that look just, they look so good. So we've been talking to those guys and they have some really great products that we're really interested in. So I think that covers quite a bit of it. So we can go ahead and move on to the next question. All right, so this next question comes from Rick. Why did you pick a 68 Mustang Coupe? Did you consider a fastback or a convertible? And were there other makes and models that you looked at? Yes and no and absolutely. So yes, we looked at a fastback for sure. Could not find one that either just had not been destroyed by the tin worms or wasn't a complete basket case or didn't cost a fortune. So couldn't get a fastback. They are iconic, of course, you know, Gone in 60 Seconds, 1 and 2. Or I say the original and remake, I should say. Bullet, so, you know, definitely an iconic car and they look so good. Did we consider a convertible? No, absolutely not. And the reason being is because convertibles suck. And I will die on this hill. Why do I hate convertibles? Well, strap in. So, convertibles. Where do I begin? Well, for starters, because you have no upper frame structure, all of the loads of the car, when you're cornering, handling, things like that, they have to be reacted by somewhere else in the car. So a standard car with a hardtop has the ability to transfer that load throughout the car better using this cage-like structure of the hardtop. A convertible can't do that, which means it has to go all through the lower chassis and the floor pans, which means that you have to reinforce them, which makes the car heavier, usually a lot more than the weight of the roof itself. Or you've got a car that's really twisty-bendy, and no one likes that, and terrible. Let's see, number 2, insulation. I live in Colorado. It's cold. It is 12 degrees right now, and I have the garage door open for sound purposes, so it's cold. If I was sitting in the car, the hardtop would definitely maintain the heat a whole lot better than the cloth, you know, soft top convertible. So, bleh. So reason number 3, let's see, with a convertible, you are always futzing with that darn top. Like, they're terrible. If the weather's super nice, great, you pull it down. But when you get to your destination, unless you're in a very secure location or it's going in the garage, you're basically asking for your stuff to get stolen straight out of your car or have your car stolen, especially if it's a classic car, then get right in. And so you have to pull the top back up, which would stop nobody with basically a pocket knife. You're in. So security purposes, done. And not to mention, you're always putting them up or you're always putting them down. They don't work on rainy days. And you got to have the right weather. If it's too hot, it's too cold, it's rainy, whatever, you're not going to want to drive with the top down. So you might as well just keep it up. 4th reason, they're the worst of all the looking cars. So let's take the Mustang, for example. Hardtop, fastback, and convertible, well, fastback obviously wins the looker race. The hard top coupe definitely still looks really good. That's what we're working with, and we're going to make it sweet. And the convertible, you know, it's convertible. It looks fine, but it's not like the other two. So, you know, let's see. That's reason 4. Do I have any more reasons? I'm sure I have 1,000 other reasons, but for the sake of brevity of this video, because it's already very long, we're going to keep moving on. But, in summary, hardtops, better. Convertibles, terrible, awful. Throw them away. Get a hardtop. So, the end. All right, so this next question comes from Tracy. If you get enough views or subscribers, will you do any subscriber rewards? For example, if you reach 1,000 subscribers, would you eat a whole potato raw on camera or something else a little crazier? Yes. What do you want? I get 1,000 subscribers, or, you know, hell, name your price. Name your price. I will do it. Probably. Most likely. If it's not something totally extreme that puts myself or other people in danger. But yes, get 1,000 subscribers, name your price. I'll do it. Get 2,000 subscribers, name it again. You know, all the way up to 80 bajillion whatever. I will do it because I'm a dirty, grubby money whore. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, I would be happy to do subscriber rewards. So definitely remember to hit that subscribe button and to smash that like button as well and leave your comments. So yeah, next question. All right, so this question comes from Josh. Josh asks, what advice do you have for someone who always wanted to... what advice do you have for someone who has always wanted to work on or restore a car but has never really learned how? Easy. First, start simple. Don't start by doing a basket case from top to bottom. Like if you find a rusted out, crapped out 1970 Chevelle SS with no motor and rats have chewed on and it's been sitting outside for 50 years, don't start with that. Start small. Start by working on your own vehicle, learning how to change your oil, learning how to maintain and care for your car, you know, learning how to replace your radiator, flush your fluids, bleed your brakes, replace your windshield wipers, even if you want to start that small. You know, there are small things you can do all the time. And you can practice on other people's cars too. Once you start getting proficient at the smaller things on your car, you know, you can work on, say, your neighbor's car. Now, you got to be careful. You don't want to be the guy in the neighborhood who works on everybody's cars for free. Instead, you know, if it's a really minor job, yeah, sure, just say you'll do them a favor. But if it's something more major, like, say, I don't know, fixing the sway bar or changing their oil, or if it's changing out their transmission fluid, things like that, you know, say you'll do it for like half the price of a mechanic in town. So that way you still get the experience, you make a little money, they save a little money, everybody's happy. So start small and keep working. Secondly, do your homework. Don't just go into this half-cocked or go in with your tools and think, yeah, I'll figure it out as you go. Do your homework. Buy a user manual or, you know, look online. There are so many resources out there for you to learn. Even if you go to your local library, and I do suggest you support your local library because they're very valuable resources that are publicly funded and deserve your support. You will actually be surprised. There are a lot of books on car restorations or working on cars or even direct mechanics manuals at your local library that you can use. So there's a decent chance that you might actually find the mechanics manual for your car. So do your homework. Do your homework. And then lastly, I would say make a plan. Make a plan. So whether that be a budget, or which I highly recommend you do, and you stick to it, and you build in some margin for error, because there's always going to be things you didn't expect. But when you make a plan, you go in with a goal, you go in prepared, you know what tools you're going to need, you know steps A through Z of what's going to happen, you have a rough idea of how much time it's going to take you, so you don't start and stop things. That way you can just finish it from start to, you know, stem to stern, you get the job done. So like I said, start small, work your way up, do your homework, and make a plan. So you do those 3 things for almost anything in life, and you're going to be in great shape. And, you know, you're probably going to come out okay and on top 99% of the time. So that's my advice. All right, this last question comes from EG. Do you have any more 10 millimeters? We're running low. Oh, Gremlins, you little bastard. Piss off, you little bastards. Quit taking my 10 mils. I hate you guys. Hate them. So that's all the questions for this first episode of Q&A. I hope you guys really liked it. Please feel free to send us more Q&A, or I guess Q's in the future. Send us your questions. We'd love to answer them. And even if they don't make it onto an episode, we'll be sure to get back to you guys and answer them to the best you can, or to the best of our knowledge. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and click that like button. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Check us out on Instagram. Again, it really helps support the show and helps us make better quality content and on a more regular basis. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.